everyone. Welcome back inside the home office. I'm Craig D'Amico, and this is NEC Now. And joining me right now is the reigning NEC Women's Basketball Player of the Year from the Merrimack Warriors. We have Denia Davis-Stewart, better known as Sticks. Denia, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
So let's get started. First and foremost, how's life going right now? How are you doing? How's your family?
My family and I are doing great. We adjusted, very well with the current circumstances. But I've been just, finishing up the last of my senior year with a couple of papers and, projects and things like that. But we fairly adjusted well. I mean, it was chaotic at first with the whole transition and the change and things like that. But like I said, we adjusted well, and, it's out of our control. So we can only focus on what we can control at the moment.
Absolutely. And good to hear everyone is healthy and doing well. But, as far as, being a senior, are you still getting that same anticipation of clicking submit on that last assignment as a senior? Do you still feel that anticipation coming up?
Yes. I mean, like I said, with the circumstances and things like that, I mean, we're not getting the full, end of the college, road experience. But I think, just, finishing up like the last assignments for our college career, I think it's bittersweet.
Sure. And what's your major?
I am a psych major with a minor in women's and gender studies, as well as business administration.
Wow. So besides all the coursework, what are you doing to keeping yourself busy? Any binging going on, trying to do some cooking? What are you doing around the house?
I've really been trying to stay active. So I go for runs throughout the day. I tackle, at home workouts, just that's like my daily routine. And then when I finish with my, my coursework and, just my assignments and things like that, I try to do a little binge watching.
Well, that's good. That's good. What's your TV show of choice right now?
Well, at first it was All American, but I literally finished the second season within a whole day. So
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm trying to find something new, but I heard Ozark is pretty big. So
that is big going on right now. Or you could always go to the Tiger Show and all that.
Oh yeah.
Now, let's shift gears and get to basketball. So growing up, at what point did you kind of fall in love with basketball and realize that this is it for me?
Well, I have always been an athlete since I was, young. My mother had me in every sport possible, from tennis to golf to softball. I did double dutch at one point. As well as playing volleyball and, taking on track and things like that. Basketball. So like sports has always also been in my family. So we're, a sports family, but basketball, I would dibble and dabble with sports and stuff like that. And even as well as basketball, but it probably wasn't until maybe my elementary years, like going into middle school, where I just stuck with, track and then basketball. And then as, I grew up, I just stuck with basketball and, just stuck to that and made sure that I just perfected my craft with that. And once I found out it went well for me, I just stuck with it.
And you mentioned, I believe it was back at Media Day, you told this story how you were Stretch and your brother was the original Sticks, and you kind of took that nickname from him. How important was he and the rest of your family in that journey? You mentioned your mom encouraging you for all the different sports, but how was family kind of important in your journey towards basketball?
My family has been amazing. They're my support systems. And I know you guys always see the good side of things, but as any athlete, going through the years of playing their sport, they face adversity and things like that. So my family has been like my biggest supporters. So for my brother, yeah, he was the original Stick, but I decided to take on that legacy from him. But I think with my mom, my brother and I, I'm the youngest, so I was like the baby in the household. So they just always, harped on me how important, just perfecting my craft and, just being consistent with things. And my brother was probably, my biggest supporter, but also my biggest critic. And
I'm sure.
yeah, so I think that has led to even, why I'm so hard on myself and, just like my mentors and things like that.
Well, let's talk about this season. At the beginning of the year, Merrimack just making that transition. I don't know that the team kind of knew what to expect. You had that big game right out of the chute. It's been a couple months now. So, when you reflect back on that whole season, what kind of stands out to you?
I just think, I honestly just I'm not really surprised, but I am just extremely proud of, myself, and the Merrimack women's basketball program as a whole, because we did come into, the NEC, the underdogs. And but that was expected. And I think, just playing that first game, not only for myself, but for my, my teammates and my coaching staff as well, I think that just showed us, like, we're here for a reason. And, all the hard work and dedication that we put forward up until this point is, like, not finally playing off, but it definitely has contributed to our success that has occurred this year.
The first game, I think, was kind of like sending a message. Maybe not so much for you guys, but for the rest to the rest of the league. I saw as well on social media there was the celebration in the locker room after the game. What was that moment like to set that message and come out with such a great start?
Like I said, I think that moment was definitely a confidence builder. I just think that, like I said, it wasn't really a statement for everybody else. It was almost like, we just needed a stamp to, like I said, prove that we belong there. And that moment was definitely one for the book. It was great. It felt like almost like a championship, but it wasn't, like.
Absolutely. And I know, talking with Coach during the year, she mentioned how, for you personally, your position, there were tall players in the NE10, so that wasn't really it. But, the physicality, adjusting to the physical play, maybe a little bit more in the NEC. How was making that adjustment to you? How did you find that facing other players and guarding players in your position?
I honestly don't think that has ever been, like, a challenge for me, because like she stated, like my coach stated, there have been, taller players and even, like a little more stronger players than I in the NE10. But I think, just transitioning is just, not necessarily doing the same things that I was, originally doing, but just, making that extra stride and extra step in the off season. And whether that was, like, in the weight room, on the court, or even off the court, just making sure that I put in the work and things like that. And honestly, it didn't like phase me or bother me that, I was coming into, higher competition. But I think it definitely like allowed me to, like, open my eyes up a little more and be like, okay, like, it's bigger competition, but you also have to prove why you belong here as well.
Absolutely. And I think, also adding the dimension of the 3-point shot allowed you to kind of stretch out the defense a little bit, something that, maybe a lot of other post players aren't able to do as well. So how important for you, over the spring and over the summer to add that element to your game? How much of a focus was that for you?
For the past couple of years, just expanding my game, outside of the post has always been, things that we harped on. But I just felt like this was a crucial moment, because we are moving up in a division, and, even with the new level. And like I said, like, you never know who you may come across. And, like you said, there are players who don't, post players don't have those assets to their game. But I think just adding that, repertoire to my game has definitely opened a couple doors for me, and just allowed me to get out of certain situations on the court that, I couldn't get out in before. And, just, it was definitely an expectation, like a high expectation for myself and, my coaching staff as well. But it kind of shocked me as well that but at the same time, I wasn't really shocked, because I did, put in the work over the summer and in the spring.
Absolutely.
In the postseason. And I think as players, people think like, oh, during the season is where you develop your game more. No, the off season is where you develop your game the most.
The people who figure that out the quickest are the people who have the the faster success.
Right.
And then on the defensive end, we're one of the tops in the nation in rebounding and blocking. And maybe for any of the young kids out there watching this, aside from being, born gifted with height and athleticism like you have, what might be some of the tricks of the trade to developing a solid game in rebounding and blocks and on the defensive end?
I would just say, consistency and, just being eager, like just having that ambition to want to work. And, I honestly think, blocking shots have, came naturally to me, but it's all about, timing and, just instinct and not just honestly, because when I was younger and like in my earlier stages, I would just block everything. And, I would just, I wouldn't really think about it. But I think, as the years have progressed, my IQ has progressed as well. So I think just working on, timing and just being eager to, do the extra step, because people fail to realize, defense. So, defense wins games. And, that is sometimes I have seen that, break a game or, have cost people the game and have, won people the game. So even like, and I have experienced that myself, whereas I have probably missed a rebound that was crucial. And, even though I probably have grabbed, multiple rebounds in the game, but like that moment, it could potentially have cost us the game.
Sure. I want to shift gears and talk about Coach LeBlanc, because I talked to her about maybe 3 times during the course of the season. And every single time we mention you, she says the same thing. She's like, man, I love that kid. So you certainly made quite the impression on her. What kind of impression has she made on you? What are some of the things that you take away after spending 4 years with her?
I think these past 4 years, she has, she harps on, that family role and, just being like our mother at school, our school mother. And just like, I think honestly, just her, holding me to high expectations on and off the court, I think that has definitely, opened so many doors from like, how I view myself and just how I carry myself as well. Just like I said, that's the main thing, just holding me to a high standard and just harping on, accountability and knowing that, at the end of the day, we always had an understanding on my role on the team. And sometimes I didn't understand it, and I questioned why I was in the position that I was in. But sometimes you can't really control the position that you're in. And when I say that, that means sometimes I didn't understand why I would be held accountable for certain things, but it comes with the role of being a leader on and off the court.
I'm assuming you're thinking Brown is getting a pretty solid addition there with her.
They are. And I'm so happy for her.
Going back home, going back to Rhode Island.
She is. I'm happy for her, and I'm glad that I had the chance to experience her. But, everyone has to, move on.
Absolutely. Now, I want to kind of go back to the season, because you kind of be the perfect person as an unbiased party. Merrimack was not eligible for the postseason in the NEC tournament this year. So we stopped with the Final Four. You played all 4 teams, so I want to kind of get your analysis here. We had Robert Morris ready to take on Sacred Heart. You guys played Robert Morris twice. You were neck and neck with them in one game. The other game, maybe not so much. And then you played Sacred Heart as well once. So with those 2 teams matching up, how would you kind of think that may have gone?
I honestly think, starting off the season with Sacred Heart, we were definitely excited, and I believe that we was ready. But like I talked about, just missing like the rebounds. I think at the end of the game, there were moments where we fell a little short, and that cost us the game. But Sacred Heart is like a great competitor, as well as Robert Morris, and their stat line and their history has definitely illustrated that. As for Robert Morris, honestly, we didn't see anything different with them. We just went in like every game, just give it your all and leave it all out on the court.
And for Mount and FDU, I was supposed to be announcing that game, and I was actually on my way to Maryland when everything kind of got shut down. I was looking forward. I think that would have been a fun game with Mount's athleticism, a lot of different scoring options, and FDU, the way they play their tough defense. I was looking forward to that one. How do you think those two teams would have matched up?
I honestly think those teams it would have been a great matchup, like you said. I think with the NEC, the unexpected can happen. So
Yeah.
you never know. And like, you may have some people who are biased and saying like, um, the top teams may come out on top, per usual, but we have seen even from this year where you have seen, Mount take on Robert Morris and, have, came out with the win in the first game against them. So you never know, honestly. I feel like all the, matchups would have been great, and just being able to see that, it would have been amazing.
Now, I said that you guys were unbiased, although had Robert Morris won, that would have left open a WNIT spot. That would have left open an extra, WBI spot that maybe Merrimack, after finishing in third place, could have kept on going. So when everything was shut down, you guys didn't play that final regular season weekend. You had the one game and then the bye, and then you didn't play in the tournament. So what were you guys still practicing? Were you guys still, meeting? What was kind of the team doing when everything kind of got shut down there back in March?
During that moment, we actually were on spring break, but we intended to come back to school early, just continue with practice and things like that, hoping for, and expecting that, selection into a postseason tournament. So, we were still continuing our routine and things like that.
And you leave, and obviously a new coach will be coming in, but for the Warriors team, I mean, there's still a whole bunch of goodies left in the cupboard, so to speak.
Yes.
Players coming back from injury, and the young freshmen and sophomores that are now going to be sophomores and juniors. So what do you expect to see from your Warriors, going from year one to year two next year?
I honestly think I wouldn't really see a big change. We harped on, that warrior mentality, just working hard, no matter, the circumstances, and, just always holding each other accountable. Like I can say that even when the coaches weren't around, we always held each other accountable on and off the court, and, just looking out for one another. So I think I shouldn't really see a big jump or a big change, but I think I should continue seeing, like I said, that warrior mentality, just holding each other to a high standard, giving it all and just doing the extra.
And for you personally, what's next after you finish up these college courses here? I'm assuming it's different this year than other years, looking for pro opportunities, maybe overseas or something like that. But what do you intend to do? What do you intend to do kind of in the immediate future following the graduation?
Potentially continue my professional career and potentially go overseas if the opportunity is granted to me. But even further, like I'm a person that likes to, think ahead, but maybe I'm jumping too far ahead, but I think once, my career has ran its course, I think I would like to continue my, the academic aspect of things and, just because like I said, I'm a psych major, so I want to open up my own practice eventually and become like a clinical psychologist. But that's years to come, and just like, help people who suffer from mental illness and, just focus on mental health care.
That's awesome. The only problem is, though, if you open up your own practice, they can't go around calling you Sticks in the office. So like that would have to be like retired. That'd have to stay on the basketball court.
Yeah, but I honestly doubt that that's going to be, that'll probably be the only place I can attend where everyone doesn't call me Sticks, but I feel like Sticks is going to stick with me forever.
Well, we were certainly lucky, even though it was one and done. We certainly are lucky to have had you in the Northeast Conference this year. You were a pleasure to watch. You certainly made your impact this year as the player of the year in the NEC, and we wish you the best of luck going forward.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure playing for you guys and, just being able to experience something different. Because when we first heard about the news that we were moving to Division I and the conference that we were going in, we was like, oh yeah, we're ready.
And indeed they were. 20 wins, an incredible season, a player of the year, and certainly much more greatness to come from the Warriors. Denia, thank you so much for joining us. That was Denia Davis-Stewart, and this has been NEC Now.